Hi, I'm Katrina Mikett. I'm one of the co-curators of the show Arms Disposal, currently up at Victory Mo Gallery in New York City, and I'm here with one of the 8 artists in the show, Mima McMillan. Hi, Mima. Thanks for joining me.
Hi,
Um,
thanks for having me.
yeah, please tell anyone who's watching a little bit more about where you came from, who you are as an artist, anything interesting you want to share.
All my friends call me Mima, but my real name is Karmimadeebora McMillan. I'm originally from North Carolina, and I currently live in New York and also Boston part time. Because I teach at Tufts University. I worked for the artist Swoon for about 5 years and helped her start her nonprofit organization, Heliotrope Foundation. Um, and then I decided to just teach for a while and focus on my work, which is what I'm doing right now, which has been really great.
And can you tell us a little bit about what your work looks like?
I work in a couple of different styles. I work with Black dolls that are usually found dolls or dolls that my friends send me from all over the world. I also work with characters from the Black Panthers coloring book um, that was curated by the subsidiary of the FBI called Cointel. Um, I also work in abstraction and on wood and in printmaking.
So I'm really glad you brought up the Cointel FBI and Black Panthers coloring book because that's a really big part of the work that you have in the show, which might
Right.
be a really good time for us to go to the 3D gallery of it. So we are in Victory Mo Gallery right now, and they're hung on strings, uh, which is a very powerful installation, I think, of the work as well. But we can start to see, because they're two-sided, the different imageries that you have on both of them that are connected to the Black Panthers coloring book you just mentioned. So
Right.
if you could explain a little bit more about them, that'd be great.
Well, Miss Mary Mac, which is what I call her, is a image of a piece that I used to see in yards in North Carolina. So this is actually supposed to be considered a piece of yard art.
Mhm.
And in the South, when we were kids, if we saw anything that looked like this, we knew that the people who lived there were racist and they didn't like Black people, and basically to stay away from that yard or that area. Well, years later, I came across this image when I was working at a residency program. One of the artists there had been using Black uh, figures in their work. And one of the people that came in just to visit had said that she had something that she was actually kind of ashamed of
Mhm.
in her garage, and that she had got it from her grandmother's house when she had passed away. And so she brought this piece in, and it was this image, who I call Miss Mary Mac, and it had been weathered and where it looked like it had been out in the yard for years and years. And she said that she couldn't bring herself to throw it away, but she had just like put it in the back of the garage because she was so ashamed of it.
Mhm.
And so when I got that piece, I kept it for a couple of years. And I everywhere I moved, I took her with me, and I had her just sitting in my room. And I had a dream one night about the nursery rhyme Miss Mary Mac. And when I was a child and we used to sing that song, I always pictured the little girl in the nursery rhyme as very Black, I guess because they repeat Black in the song. And when I woke up, I was looking at that image of her. She was sitting on the floor, like right in front of my bed. And that was the moment I knew that I was going to start using her in my work. Um, she was supposed to instill fear in us.
Mhm.
And it was supposed to be used as a derogatory figure. Children that were very dark skinned were called pickaninnies. Um, and it wasn't popular to be this dark skinned, which is where colorism comes in. Colorism is when you discriminate against people based on their skin tone.
Mhm.
So, if some people prefer very light skinned people, and they're racist towards darker skinned people. Um, some people believe that if you are lighter complected, you're most likely to get better jobs. Um, it's a problem. It's always been a problem. And so those that could did everything they could to make us feel inferior based on the skin tone and how dark we were. And so after living with her for a couple of years, I thought to myself, you know what? I think she's really cute. I was like, I don't see anything wrong with her. I think she's super cute. And you know what? I'm gonna just use her in my work because I feel like uh in the end it was, which I came to terms with believing, which I didn't know in the beginning, was that she is essentially myself, like traveling through life and her telling her story through her own interpretation of that life. Um, and based on all the circumstances and things that I have been through and continue to go through based on racism and colorism and just being Black in general, I felt she was a really good character to be able to begin to tell that story.
As an artist, were you ever concerned in how using Miss Mary Mac as this, and the symbolism that she sort of came with might be misinterpreted once it left your studio and was, you weren't there to explain it? I feel like this is something that happens often with very loaded symbols and imagery, something that a lot of artists sort of grapple with. I wonder if you could give any advice to other artists out there um, in terms of like how to navigate, deciding what to do as an artist to make sure, it doesn't fall down. It supports the original concept.
Well, first of all, you have to believe in what you're doing. Like this was something that I have been thinking about for years.
Mhm.
It is serious and it is something that is true to my heart and hard to work with at the same time. It's not something that I take lightly, even though I love to have fun with her and I love to be able to make her so seen, which is the reason why I use really bright colors and really fun patterns for her that also talk about things that are still important to what's going on and what's going on around us. And you have to be invested in your work. If you're not invested in the work and you're just doing it to do it, then don't do it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I'll be working with for a really long time, maybe forever. I don't know.
Mhm.
At this point, this is what it is. This is what I've been working on for almost 10 years now.
Wow.
Um, and the character continues to grow for me, just like I've started using her in animations.
Mhm.
Um, and through that is a completely different story, um, and comes across in a really fun way, but we'll begin to talk about some really serious things that's going on through motion, which to me is even more powerful.
Can you speak to why? I guess it's two questions. One, what was going on with the Black Panthers coloring book that the FBI was using and creating? And then also, why did you decide to pair imagery from that with Miss Mary Mack?
Well, all my work kind of interweaves together, I guess you can say. I don't think of anything that I do as something completely separate. Even when I work in abstraction, you see abstraction in my large scale pieces, even though, it's in landscape form, they're abstract landscapes. Um, so, I don't really think of it as separate. Um, as far as the Cointel sent out these coloring books to hundreds of white families to scare them about Black people.
What decade was this?
Early 70s, late 60s. And this coloring book is free. It's online. Anyone can get it. It's called the Black Panthers Coloring Book. If you Google it, it'll come up. These people broke into Cointel and raided the office and found all of this stuff, and then gave it to people to disperse, to let everybody know that this is what Cointel was doing. And so for years, people thought that the Black Panthers made this coloring book, but they didn't.
And what's inside the coloring book?
Basically, everyone who is not Black is depicted as a pig. And most of the children carry guns. It's basically telling a story about how Black people came to America and how they came here as slaves, and then they repressed the slave owners, and then they were in the ghetto. And each of the scenarios, there's a pig in it, and the pig is the cops, the pig is the landlord, the pig is the slave owner. Like, everyone who is in Black is depicted as a pig. And basically stating that this is how Black people think about everybody else but themselves, and to scare white families about Black people, basically. But the thing about it is that what I appreciate is that they made the characters in the coloring book really great, because they wanted it to look like it came from the Black Panthers. And so I decided to take those same characters and began to tell a new story. And to tell a story from an actual Black person's point of view, and to take these characters out and to begin to use them as paper dolls. I thought that it would be really great to be able to use Miss Mary Mack in this way. After working with the wood figure and doing prints with it, and using it as a flat image, I love the idea of being able to put her in the space. And the original wood piece has an image of her on the front and the same image of her on the back. And so this edition, this is just 3 out of an edition of 25. And each of the 25 images has a different image. Some of them are together like this, like a triptych. Most are diptychs. And each one of them has an image of her. And then on the back, there's some other scene or scenario or abstract image. But I thought it would be really great to show some of these stories that I have been thinking about in my mind, of how I wanted to change the story in the coloring book.